Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Facebook Live at Texas Scorecard. We're here at the Republican Party of Texas Convention. I'm Brandon Waltons, the managing editor of Texas Scorecard, joined with the director of Right to Life of East Texas, Mark Lee Dickson, and a leader in the Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn movement. Mark, thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. And first question right off the bat, what are you doing at the Republican Party Convention?
Seeing a lot of beautiful faces of people that love life and love liberty and are fighting with all their might for it.
It has been a legislative priority of the party for the last several years to abolish abortion. It looks like that is one of the legislative priorities that may again be adopted. Is this a promising sign for the Republican Party and for conservatives as they look to end abortion in Texas?
Absolutely. We've got a long ways to go. And, of course, we're at a point where we're finally seeing it looks like Roe v. Wade is about to die. And here in maybe a few days, within a couple of weeks, Roe v. Wade will be no more.
I'm glad you brought that up. You had a piece that we published at TexasScorecard.com, I think it was a few weeks ago, talking about, okay, if Roe v. Wade is indeed overturned by the Supreme Court, what's next, right? What are pro-life activists to do next? And so I'll ask you that question right now. What's after Roe v. Wade?
Well, a lot of Americans wrongly believe that the overturning of Roe v. Wade would mean that abortion is outlawed from coast to coast, and that's simply just not the case. Here in Texas, we've got a trigger bill, but we also have the pre-Roe statutes. And so if Roe v. Wade's overturned, here in Texas, abortion's already outlawed with the pre-Roe statutes. We also have the trigger bill. But every state will have to make sure that they have laws on the books that protect innocent life. And even then, though, here in Texas, what do we have? We have rogue mayors and city councils and DAs that they don't care about the laws. They want to find any and every excuse not to enforce the laws, to do everything they can to support the murder of innocent children. And so we're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to make sure that the private enforcement mechanism is in play even for children that don't have a detectable heartbeat.
You mentioned our leader in the Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn movement. First of all, how many cities are we up to now in Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn?
So there's 50 in the United States.
50. And how many of those are in Texas?
44.
44. Okay, great. So Texas is leading the way in that movement. How did you get started with this concept?
Well, I was on the sidewalk of an abortion facility in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I was preaching the gospel of Christ, doing everything I could to save lives out on that sidewalk. And there was a lady there that expressed that the people on the inside of that facility were saying that they may be closing down soon. And there was a lot going on at the time legislatively there in Louisiana. The June Medical Services versus Russo case was going for the Supreme Court of the United States, which came out of Louisiana, that clinic specifically, Hope Medical Group for Women. And so there was a lot of concern. And I remember thinking, I was driving back that day, and I was thinking, you know, if that abortion facility closes down, they're not just going to go open up an ice cream shop or do something different. They're going to find some way to do abortions. And it reminded me of an article that I read in the Marshall News Messenger in the early 90s. I had looked at all these clippings and everything, and I remember seeing it, and there was an offer from someone down in the Houston area that pledged land and a building to that abortion facility. And that land and that building was in Wascom, Texas, 18 miles over from the Louisiana abortion facility. And so I reached out to the mayor, and the mayor of Wascom said, "What can we do?" And I said, "You need to pass an ordinance outlawing abortion." and he said, expedite me that ordinance. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and came up with an ordinance, and I was staring at that ordinance at a Chick-fil-A in Longview, Texas, and I said, I'm supposed to love my neighbor, and the unborn, they're my neighbor, but so are the born council members, and I don't want to see the city sued into oblivion. So I texted my Senator Brian Hughes over Senate District 1,
Right.
and I said, Senator Hughes, if this abortion facility moves to Wascom, that blood's going to be on Senate District 1 soil. And he said, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Jonathan F. Mitchell. And so the three of us got on a conference call outside of a Chick-fil-A. So many good things happen at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's
the rest
I think
is
the moral
history.
of the story here.
Yeah.
Yes, and now, as you said, right, you're up to 50 of these cities. One of the most public ones where there was really a lot of attention on was in Lubbock. I think was it last year in 2021 that Lubbock passed their ordinance? Because this was one that actually went on the ballot, voted the people supported it, and the detractors said, even people who said, look, I'm pro-life, said the city's going to get sued over this, and yet it looks like Lubbock has prevailed against that.
Absolutely, and Lubbock did get sued in May of last year, May of 2021. They passed the ordinance, and that ordinance went into effect June 1st of that year, but they were sued towards the end of the month, but the lawsuit only lasted 2 weeks. The city of Lubbock prevailed. The Planned Parenthood did appeal the lawsuit and to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we ended up they withdrew because they knew that they weren't going to win this one. And so the greatest victory there is that since June 1st of last year, no abortions have been performed by Planned Parenthood in Lubbock, Texas, and they say the reason for that is because of that ordinance which was passed by the people.
That's absolutely amazing. We were talking a little bit earlier. I want you to explain what is happening in Athens, Texas right now.
Well, in Athens, Texas, people have risen up and they have said that they want to see abortion outlawed in their city. They have realized that their city has this ugly stain of being where abortion started in the state of Texas. And so a guy by the name of Curtis Wayne Boyd in 1967 opened up a facility there in Athens, right across the street from a hospital. And it was a medical clinic, and he started doing illegal abortions at that facility. He did 10,000 illegal abortions in a period of 2 years that we know of. And he was best friends with the city attorney. He was business partners with a city council member. He ended up also being on the school board and introducing sex ed into the Athens public school, all the while performing illegal abortions. And he did this as the county health officer. And so after he left Athens, he ended up going to Dallas, did some illegal abortions in Dallas, then went to New Mexico. And in 1973, when the Roe v. Wade ruling came down, he returned to Texas to open up the first legal abortion facility in Dallas, Texas. And so Athens has this great stain on them, and there's people that are collecting signatures today, this weekend, to finalize the process of getting this for a public vote of their council. And if their council rejects this, then it is going to go to the voters in November.
Yes, absolutely amazing. And similar stories, right? I mean, lots of these different cities. I think every city, right, has its own individual story, but it all starts with people who have seen other sanctuary cities for the unborn, and they say, look, I want this to happen in my hometown.
Absolutely.
How can people who see this, who say, you know what, I want to see my city become a sanctuary city for the unborn, what's the first step they can take?
I always encourage people to sign the online petition at sanctuarycitiesfortheunborn.com. And so by signing that petition, that lets us know that there's interest in that community. And we ask people to let us know what city they live in, what city they work in, and what city they go to church in, because we want to get a good idea of where this person is finding themselves, because we may need some help in a city over where maybe they go to church in.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mark Lee Dickson, for joining us, and thank you for watching us live. We're going to continue to have coverage from different folks here at the Republican Party of Texas Convention in Houston, and you can see all of our coverage at texasscorecard.com. Thank you.